Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Please forgive my voice. This is Linda K. Edwards with New Me, New You. And today I have the Witness Project of Long Island, a breast cancer and cervical cancer education and outreach program in collaboration with the town of Babylon and other Long Island communities. And your guest speaker for today is Nikki Stewart.
Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for having me. We appreciate so much being on New Me, New You. I am also going to apologize because I'm having some allergies, so if I cough, you'll have to excuse me. The Witness Project of Long Island, as you said, is a breast and cervical cancer education and outreach program. And we work primarily in the African American community because African American women are dying at greater rates from both of these diseases. We contract breast cancer about 3% less than our white counterparts, but we die 40% more. And we contract cervical cancer about 40% more than our white counterparts and die about 50% more. So the key to survival of both of these diseases is early detection. So we go out into the community, we go into churches, we go into community centers, we go wherever people will have us, and we talk about early detection. We tell people about these diseases, how early detection will save their lives, and we help women find low or no cost exams if they don't have insurance, so we can do what we can to make sure that people live longer lives. We work in collaboration with the town of Babylon. We're truly blessed to be here at the Wyandanch Senior Center. The town of Babylon gives us in-kind space, so we're able to work out of the town of Babylon, and they work very closely with us, and we thank them so much for their support and their efforts to work with the community and save lives. So I'm going to talk today about both breast and cervical cancer. So we're going to start with breast cancer. It is October, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so I'm going to start talking about, basically, we don't really know what causes cancer. We know things that contribute to it, we know what risk factors are, but basically, cancer is when things go wrong in cells and they start growing abnormally. So there aren't a lot of things in terms of breast cancer that you can do to cause it. You're not going to get a hit or a bump and then suddenly you find breast cancer and say, oh, that caused it. That's not going to happen. We do know there are some things that can increase your risk of being diagnosed with breast cancer, but there's not anything that we can point to for the most part that says, this is it, this is why you got cancer. So when we talk about risk factors for breast cancer, one of the biggest risk factors for breast cancer is being a woman. And I say that because 1% of breast cancer people diagnosed with breast cancer are men. So it's really important for men to realize that if they find a lump in their chest area, they need to go see a doctor and check on it early while it's still treatable. And that's one of the reasons we tell people to get into treatment, get people into screening, because if you find it early while it's still small, while it's still treatable, there's a 90+% survival rate. So it's really important to treat it, find it early, treat it early. Other risk factors include aging. The body is just like a car. The longer you have a car, the more chance there is something's going to break down with it. And it's the same thing with cancer. So if you have, a lot of women will say, well, I've reached this age and I haven't been diagnosed with breast cancer, I don't have to worry about it anymore. The older you get, the more your risk increases. So it's really important to be aware of that fact, to have conversations with your healthcare provider, and to work to get screened regularly. Other
Can I ask you a question?
yes, I would love it if you would break in whenever you have a question.
No, well, I wanted to know, and I'm sure a lot of other women, and again, forgive my voice, allergies, but how often should a woman go and get checked?
So I'm going to talk about that later. There are a lot of screening. There are a lot of, and I have to ask you all to forgive me as well. I am a long COVID sufferer, and sometimes words just pop right out of my head. So there are a lot of screening guidelines out of there. It used to be that they said a woman should get screened, start getting mammograms at 40 and go every year. Now, because there are differing screening guidelines, some suggest that women have their first mammogram at 40, and then once they are 50, they go every 2 years. Some say they can wait till 50 to have their first mammogram. It's important to have these conversations with your healthcare provider. So if you have a history of breast cancer in your family, you should talk to your healthcare provider about what your risk is and when you should start getting screening. For some, that may mean if your mom got breast cancer at 40 years old, your doctor may want to start screening you at 30 years old. So it's really important to know your family history and have these conversations with your healthcare provider. The other risk factors in breast cancer include genetics. So if you have a first-degree relative, your mom, your sister, aunt, close family relative that has been diagnosed with breast cancer, that may increase your risk for breast cancer. So again, it's important to know your family history with cancer and any other diseases and have those conversations with your healthcare provider, because that may change how they screen you for different diseases. So, but only 10% of breast cancer patients actually have a family history. So just because you don't have it in your family doesn't mean that you are not at risk for breast cancer.
Correct. But I also have a friend that she was 23 when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. I cannot remember if in her family, if there was a history, but she did have it very, very young.
Yes, there are.
And she overcame, by the way, as well.
The youngest person I have heard of who has had breast cancer, I've read in literature, was 11 years old.
Wow.
On Long Island, I know of a young woman who was 15 when she was diagnosed. So it's important for parents to know that it is possible for your daughters to be diagnosed with breast cancer. And it is important to know that if your daughter comes to you with a lump or some sort of change in the breast area that is not normal budding, breast development, then you should go and see a doctor.
Wow.
So even though getting older does increase your risk, younger women do get it, and Black women tend to be diagnosed at younger ages than white women. So it's important for us to be aware of that and to, again, be aware of those conversations with your healthcare provider. Now, I'm going to say that a lot tonight, because if there are two things I want people to walk away with tonight, told you that light would go. If there are two things that I want people to walk away with tonight, it's that early detection will save your life.
Yes.
And that you need to have conversations with your healthcare provider. And if your healthcare provider is not asking you these questions and you are not having these questions with your healthcare provider, you need to talk to your healthcare provider about that, or go see a different healthcare provider.
Right.
So those are really two important takeaways. Other risk factors we need to be aware of are diet and exercise. They will decrease your risk of getting breast cancer. Eat a diet, a healthier diet, high in fiber, low in fat, Mediterranean diets. All of those are good for reducing your risk. Getting regular exercise will also reduce your risk. Alcohol increases your risk of being diagnosed with breast cancer. So again, as with all things, I talk to people about knowing what your risk factors are. You can drink in moderation. One drink per night, one alcoholic beverage, a glass of wine, a beer, increases your risk of being diagnosed with breast cancer by 9%. So it's important to be aware of your risk factors, and if you have high risk factors, like you have genetics, you have breast cancer in your family, or you have been taking genetic testing and you found that you have the breast cancer gene in your family, try not to drink. That will help you lower your risk of being diagnosed. One of the things that also lowers risk that people aren't really aware of is breastfeeding. If you have children and you do not breastfeed, it does slightly increase your risk of being diagnosed with certain types of breast cancer. So it's important, we talk about breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is good for the child. Breastfeeding is good for the mother for many reasons, but it also helps you lower your risk of being diagnosed with breast cancer later in life. So, those are, and we also need to talk about things we introduce into our bodies. And that is, we use a lot of chemicals. We clean with chemicals. We use perfumes. We use lotions, makeup. All of the things that we're using, we need to be aware of the ingredients in them. And there are toxic ingredients in a lot of the things we use that increase our risk of being diagnosed with not just breast cancer, but many types of breast cancer and other diseases like diabetes and heart disease and things like that. So it's important to know what you're using, what you're putting in your body. There's a great website out there called the Environmental Working Group, and on their website, they talk about different products, and they have screening tools that you can use for you can look up the products that you're using, or you can put the ingredients into the products of the products you're using, and it'll tell you how toxic they are, and it can help you lower the amount of toxicity you have in your life. I'm not saying that we need to throw everything out, but if we can start to use better products, and maybe eliminate one product at a time or one chemical at a time, we can live healthier lives. So those are some of the risk factors that we talk about. And so I want to talk a little bit about certain signs and symptoms of breast cancer. So pretty much everybody knows the lump, whether they're talking about a hard, firm lump or I've heard people who have been diagnosed with breast cancer talk about feeling like they had grains of sand under their skin. I've heard people talk about feeling, it just felt like an extra glob of fat that wasn't there. So you want to look for changes in your breast. You want to look for visual changes. Is there an indentation in your breast? Sometimes you can have a tumor that kind of pulls on the connective tissue in your breast, and it makes a little dent in your breast. So you want to watch out for dents. You want to watch out for anything kind of jutting out. You want to watch out for areas where you're growing new veins on your breast, because it could be a tumor that's growing its own blood supply. So you want to look for any changes. Is an area of your skin getting darker? Does your skin look like an orange peel? Does it look like you have a rash that won't go away on your breast? There's a kind of breast cancer called inflammatory breast cancer, and it looks like a rash. And a lot of women will go to their doctors and try to get treated for this rash, and they'll go over and over and over again over an extended period of time when they had breast cancer all along. So it's important to be aware of those type of changes. Anytime you see a change in your breast, you should just go and see your doctor. You know, you don't have to freak out. 90% of the time, nothing's wrong. Most lumps, even, nothing's wrong. So just go see your doctor, get it checked out, and if it is something, you'll find it as soon as you notice a change. And part of that is knowing what's normal for you. So from about the age of about 22 to about 32, I found a new lump in my breast every year. Oh, wow. I had very fibrocystic breasts, but I was familiar with my breast. So when I found a new lump, I knew I found a new lump. So as soon as I found something, I could go to the doctor, I could get it checked out, and I could know that I'm okay. And I am not a breast cancer survivor. I've not been diagnosed with breast cancer, but every single time I found something, I went and got it checked out, because if it was something, I would know. And it is better to know. A lot of people say what you don't know can't hurt you.
It can.
But what you don't know can kill you.
It can kill you, right.
So it is truly important to know what's normal for you. You know, do your breast self-exams. Well, we don't say you need to do them monthly anymore. We are saying that you need to do them frequently enough that you need to know that you instantly know what's normal. Right. So
you had asked me a question,
sure,
the other day, and I didn't know how to answer it. The density of your breasts. How do you know about that?
So when we talk about that, brings us right into mammography, which is great, which is where we were going.
Okay.
So women should get a regular mammogram, and again, your schedule should be determined between you and your healthcare provider. For me, it's going yearly. It's going by year. Well, let me back up. I go every 6 months. Mm-hmm. I have a high risk score, so I get a mammogram once a year, and every 6 months I get a MRI. But that's because I have a high risk score. One of the reasons I have a high risk score is I do have dense breasts. Breasts are made up of glandular tissue, connective tissue, ducts, milk ducts, and fat. People who have more fat have lower density breasts. People who have more glandular tissue and connective tissue have dense breasts. Women with dense breasts are harder to read on a mammogram. So when you take your mammogram, cancer shows up white. When you have dense breasts, the connective tissue, the glandular tissue, all of that is showing more white on your mammogram than if you did not have dense breasts. Mm-hmm. So when you get your mammogram, it is a New York State law that they have to tell you if you have dense breasts. Now, if you don't know what that means, they might have told you, and you don't know. So the next time you get your mammogram, go to ask them if you have dense breasts. If you do, that's something that you should have a conversation with your doctor about. Before I had the high risk score, and your risk score changes over time and with situation. When they determined I had dense breasts, they sent me for a mammogram and a sonogram at the same time, because the sonogram is an additional tool they use to compensate for the fact that a lot of my mammogram is white. Your doctor, one's healthcare provider may not feel that it's important for you to have that sonogram, but those are conversations you should have, and these are things you should be aware of. And it's important to educate yourself. If somebody tells you you have dense breath, go look up what that means, but make sure you're going to reputable sources. Are you going to Sloan Kettering's website? Are you going to cancer.org, which is the American Cancer Society? Are you going to the United States government cancer website, which the name is, it's cancer.gov. So, do your own research, but make sure you're going to reputable sources to find the information. And, a lot of people are into homeopathy, and Sloan Kettering has a great homeopathic source on their website. So they do include homeopathy on their website. So there are people who, don't want to deal with the I'm going to call traditional Western science, but there are places that incorporate it. But it's important, again, to deal with reputable sources. So when we talk about a mammogram, we're talking about getting an x-ray of the breast. And you and I had a conversation yesterday about that, and you said to me, what did you say to me?
What did I say to you? Let's see.
You said that that's a lot of radiation.
Oh, yes, it was a lot of radiation to do, yeah.
One of the things about mammograms is that they're a very low dose of radiation. You actually technically get more radiation when you are flying in an airplane than you do with a mammogram. When you're flying with an airplane, you're higher in the atmosphere, which means more radiation is coming through, and we get some radiation when we fly in an airplane.
Which I never knew until you told me that yesterday. So.
And you get less radiation than that
for
getting your mammogram. So that's important to know too, and those are, again, are conversations that you can have with your healthcare provider. So when you go for your mammogram, it's really important that you do not put on deodorant.
Right.
You do not put on lotions or powders, because that will, they could have minerals or things in them that make it more difficult to read the mammogram. So like a lot of deodorants have aluminum in it, and that will show up on the mammogram as white again. So it's important not to have those things on before you go for your mammogram.
Correct. Yeah. So,
so I just want to talk to you quickly about how to do your breast self-exam. And a lot of us don't know how to do that or what to do. We just kind of poke around all over the place, but we're skipping over a lot of space. So I have this breast model here. And what you want to do before I pick up the breast model, the area you want to cover is from your clavicle to the bottom of your bra line. Sure. So it's your clavicle to your bra line. It's your entire armpit. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's your entire armpit, and it's all the way over to your center line. All of this is breast tissue. And so when you do a breast self-exam, you need to be aware of that. When we do a breast self-exam, we talk about the rule of threes, and we talk about using these 3 fingers, okay? And we do 3 levels of pressure. We use light pressure because you could have a lump that will move out of the way or kind of displace if you press too hard, and you'll never know it was there. Then we use medium pressure, and then we're going to use deep pressure. And we're going to use as deep pressure as you can without hurting yourself. Okay? Because there could be things that are along the chest wall, and you need to be able to feel that. And then the other rule, so you have 3 fingers, 3 levels of pressure, and then you're going to do it 3 ways. So it's a lengthy process. You want to do it, you want to be laying down in bed, you want to be standing in the shower, and then you want to stand in front of the mirror because you're looking for visual changes. So when you are laying in bed, you're going to put a pillow behind the shoulder on the side that you're going to do the exam on. And you are going to put the arm of the side that you're doing the exam on behind your head. And you're going to use these 3 fingers, and you're going to start in your armpit. And then you're going to do light pressure, medium pressure, and you're going to make little circles. Light pressure, medium pressure, deep pressure. And then you're going to move your fingers. Now, we teach the grid method. And with the grid method, that means that you are covering a comprehensive, you're going up and down like a grid. And so you're going to do light pressure, medium pressure, deep pressure. And you're going to take this top finger here, and you're going to move it directly below where you were, and you're going to do it again. Light pressure, medium pressure, deep pressure. You're going to do it again. Light pressure, medium pressure, deep pressure. And then when you get to the bottom, you're going to go to where the end of this finger is, this finger here on the end, and you're going to move over next to where that is, and you're going to go up. So you're going to get to here, you're here, you're going to take this finger, you're going to move it over to the end of your fingers, and then you're going to go up. Light pressure, medium pressure, deep pressure, above. Light pressure, medium pressure, deep pressure. You're going to do it all the way over till you get to the middle, and then you're going to switch sides. You're going to move the pillow. You're going to put the other arm above. Now, some of us who have larger boobs may need to manipulate ourselves. You know, you may need to move your breast over and move it to one side, and that's okay. You're going to get used to touching yourself, and it's okay. You also need to make sure that you roll your nipple between your fingers to make sure that there's nothing underneath there. Okay? Again, nobody's hurting themselves, but you are going to use some deep pressure. And so that's going to take some time. And then after you do that, you're going to get up and you're going to go in the bathroom and you're going to do it in the shower. And you're going to make sure you get soap all over your hands, and your fingers are going to glide over your skin differently. It's going to be a different feel to it. But also, you're doing it in 2 different kind of areas. You're having access to your breast in 2 different ways. When you're laying down, your breast is in a different position than when you're standing up. And I have literally found lumps when I was standing up that I could not find when I was laying down. So it does make a difference. Positions make a difference. So you're going to do the same thing, you're just going to do it standing up. And then what you're going to do is you are going to stand in front of the mirror. You're going to put your hands on the hips, and you're going to look at yourself in front, the side, and you're looking for changes in your breast, the changes we discussed. Does your skin look like it's an orange peel? Is your skin darker in one area? We're not talking about if you have a bruise. If you got hit, you have a bruise, you understand why your skin is dark. If your skin gets dark for no reason, you don't know why it's dark, then you're gonna go talk to your doctor. The other thing you're gonna do is you're gonna put your hands on your hip, and then you're gonna curl your shoulders over, and you're gonna lean forward. And you are literally looking at how they hang. Yes. It's really important to see how, if your breasts hang the same every month, you're all good. But if 1 month one is hitching up, and it didn't do that before, that could be a sign that something's going on that you need to talk to your doctor about. So, again, touching people, a lot of people, we work with a lot of older women, and a lot of them are not comfortable touching themselves, but it'll save your life. Right. When I started doing this job, I had never had a mammogram before. I've been doing this for 16 years, and I hadn't had my first mammogram. And I said, oh, it's uncomfortable. It can hurt. They're getting better. They're changing the technology. They have curved paddles now, so they're less painful than they were. But it can hurt. And it is 5-10 minutes tops of discomfort that will save your life. I know we had a woman who used to work with us. We work with breast cancer survivors who come with us and they tell their story so people can see that cancer is not a death sentence. And her story was so powerful because she had a mammogram. And about a month or two later, she went to her doctor. Something was going on with her breast. And her doctor sent her for another mammogram. And she's like, why do I have to go for another mammogram? I just had one. He's like, let's just go and check and see. And mammograms find cancer in its earliest stages when it's too small to be felt or seen with the eye. And that's why we do mammograms, because you find them early when cancer is unstaged, when it's small, and when it's most treatable. In the month or two between her getting her mammogram, she had developed a cancer that was not visible to a mammogram in a month or two before. So it was a very aggressive, fast-growing cancer. And so she's one of the reasons I suggest that Black women try to do a yearly mammogram. Because if she had waited a year, but if she had waited 2 years even, she would not be here. So it's important to find cancer early while it's still treatable, and the mammogram is still the best way to do that. So that is all I have to say about breast cancer. Do you have any questions?
Well, I feel that you covered each and everything that I was going to ask, and I thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes. So ladies, Nikki said, please go out there. Please forgive my voice again. Go out there and get your mammograms. It's very, very important. Don't say, oh, you know what? I don't feel like it. I'll do it next year. Do it now while you have the opportunity to do so. It's very, very important. Okay, and we can go to the next one.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about cervical cancer. And really, when we talk about cervical cancer, what we're talking about is HPV. More than 90% of cervical cancers are caused by HPV, which is the human papillomavirus. And HPV is a group of viruses, like there are over 100 viruses.
That one virus is on?
We say the virus, but it's many viruses that are all human papillomaviruses. Of those hundreds of HPV viruses, only about 14 cause cancer. Wow. So those are considered high risk viruses. The others are low risk, and when we say low risk, that can include genital warts. But genital warts won't kill you. So it's important to know about HPV, to know that it is for the most part, it's a sexually transmitted infection, and it is spread by skin-to-skin contact. And when we say that it's spread by skin-to-skin contact, most people think about sexual penetration contact. But it's important to realize that it can be spread by touching the genitals, by touching the mouth, if there's HPV in the mouth. Mm-hmm. It's spread by touching, if you A lot of people think they didn't have sexual contact because they used their hands, but if it gets on your hands, it can still be spread to other parts of your body because it is now on your hand. So it is spread by skin to skin, mostly sexual contact, but that is vaginal, penile, oral, anal. It can be transferred using sex toys, toothbrushes, and as I said, hands. So it's really important to realize that it is spread through sexual contact, but any sexual contact. And condoms and dental dams will not always protect you from it because there is skin around the area that the condom covers or the dental dam covers. And also they have to be put on with the hands, and there's also lots of touching. So it's important to be screened and be aware if you have HPV that it is very easily spread through sexual contact. It is so, and HPV doesn't just cause cervical cancer; it causes anal cancer, it causes oral cancer, mouth and throat cancers, causes cancer on the vulva, in the vagina, and of course on the cervix. So it causes a lot of different cancers, but it is more than 90% of cervical cancers are caused by HPV. So if you can prevent HPV, it is more likely than not you will not get cervical cancer. So risk factors include having multiple sex partners. And when I say that, I'm not saying, oh, they have a lot of sex partners, so if you have more than one partner and even if you have one partner and that one partner has had another partner besides you, you are at risk for being, for contracting HPV. So it's really important to be aware of, to go to your doctor, to get checked out, and to be aware of your disease status when you come into a relationship. Another thing is age. Like I said, as we age, we have a greater risk of things going wrong, and so you have a greater risk of being diagnosed with cervical cancer. And smoking. Smoking increases your risk of being diagnosed, and also having a history of having HPV or a previous sexually transmitted infection, or having a low immune system. And the reason why is most people, when they are exposed to HPV, their body clears the infection. So a lot of people are exposed and will never know that they were exposed to it because their body, just like, some people are exposed to cold and they never get it. Most people are exposed, but their body is able to take care of, their immune system is able to take care of the infection. So in these cases, the immune system, something lowers the immune system, or you have multiple exposures to it, and that increases your risk of being diagnosed with HPV. You have a question?
I wanted to just touch on, because teenagers are recommended to get the HPV vaccination, especially nowadays. They've been pushing it very much frequently. So I wanted to know, like, what is your take on that? Like, as far as, how young do you think they should start? Like, I think it's normally from age 9?
Yes, so
Yeah,
that's actually something I was going to talk about, but let's talk about it now. No, that's great. So they recommend that you start from age 9 to 12 if you get your child the HPV vaccine. And I highly, the only protection we have from HPV is the HPV vaccine. So
how effective did they say it was? Was it 99.9 or something?
It's over 90%
Okay.
effective. It is highly effective. It is the only thing we have. And if you get your child the vaccine before they are worried about having sexual intimacy, they will never know. I've heard people say that giving them the vaccine is condoning them having sex. No, you are protecting your child from a deadly disease for their entire life. Mm-hmm. So if they get it from age 9 to 12, they only have to get 2 vaccinations for their lifetime. They're covered for a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And the younger you get it, the greater your immune response to it. That's why you only have to get 2 doses from the age 9 to 12. Mm-hmm. If you get it from 12 to 26, you need 3 doses of the vaccine. Mm-hmm. And again, like I said, you have a lower immune response the older you get. And I'm sorry, I think it's 9 to 15. It's 9 to 15. Actually, I have that here someplace. It is 9 to 12, 2 doses when given between 15 and 26. Yeah. Okay. So it's at 15, it's 3 doses. So from 15 to 26, it's 3 doses. If you are older than 26, you can get it. It is unlikely that your insurance will pay for it. It is more likely that you've already been exposed to HPV. And you will have a lower immune response, but you should, if you're able to get it, you're 26 years old, you haven't gotten it, go out and get it. If you can afford to pay for it, go out and get it, because again, it will protect you from HPV and it'll save your life. And that's what we're talking about today, is saving your life. Now I keep saying that, but we're talking about saving your life. And it's quick, it's easy. Your children will never have to worry about it, and you're done. So we've talked about risk factors. We've talked about the vaccine. So we'll talk about signs and symptoms of an HPV infection. So HPV causes cervical cancer, but it takes years for the cells to change from being infected to actual cervical cancer. So what happens is they can test you and see if you have HPV, but even if you are diagnosed with HPV, that means they caught it early before you had cervical cancer. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're looking for. When they do a pap test, they're actually looking for precancerous cells. So that's one step further down the line, that you were infected with HPV. The infection has been in you so long that the cells have begun to change, and now they're precancerous. And even when those cells are precancerous, you have a lot of time before they become cancerous. Mm-hmm. So going for regular gynecological exams, getting your pap test, getting your HPV test,
which is very important, ladies,
which is very important, will not only save your life, but it will catch things early before you ever have to worry about it. And that's amazing that there's this technology. Again, over 90% of cervical cancers are caused by HPV. So if you can find it early, if you can go to your doctor, again, the exam is not comfortable. It is not friendly. It is, it's weird having someone down there visiting you, but it'll save your life. I'm just trying to be real. And as you grow, it's just normalized. It's just an exam. Mm-hmm. And you get used to it, and it will save your life. It is so important. So, Early on, there are no signs and symptoms of HPV infection. You may possibly have some precancerous lesions eventually that cause some itching or some bleeding. If you have vaginal itching and bleeding and it's not explained by yeast infection or your period, just go talk to your doctor. And as it gets further along, you may experience some, again, bleeding, pain, swollen glands, foul odor. And so you just need to again, have signs and symptoms, go see your doctor.
How often for pap smears?
So
that we let them know.
You should have a gynecological exam every year. Your doctor, your healthcare provider will talk to you about how often you should be screened, which means for pap smears, HPV exams, I believe they are done every 5 years.
They also have a blood test, CA 125, for cervical. If you want to, when I was in my active days, and I'm going to admit, when I was younger, in my active days, I used to ask for it. You have to ask for it. They're not going to volunteer it to you. So it's like CA 125.
It is still the best tool in the arsenal. Again, I understand people don't want to experience that cervical exam,
Right.
but the best tool in the arsenal is that cervical exam because it will find HPV before you get cancer.
Or any
find, or any STD. They will find precancerous cells before they turn. So if you're talking about a blood test, that's further down the line when cancer is already formed. We want to stop it. We want to stop before we get there. So that to me is one of the most important things.
One thing I didn't want to confuse is a pap smear is not for the STDs. That's really the blood work for the STDs. I don't want them to get confused. No, for me.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the pap smear is just like you said. It's to examine the cervix for pre-existing cancer cells. But the blood work would detect the STDs like gonorrhea and syphilis and all that other stuff. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah. So the pap smear, they're literally taking a scraping of some cells, and they're smearing it on a petri dish, and they're looking for changes in the cells that indicate precancerous conditions. The HPV test, they're looking for the presence of HPV before those precancerous cells exist. So it's about stopping it before it starts.
Definitely. And so, ladies, again, please get your breasts examined. Do your self-examinations. Go and get your pap smears. It is so important for us, all women of all colors, all ethnic backgrounds, but African American women are prone more so to this than other ethnicities. So just wanted to.
Yeah, we are dying at greater rates. We're getting screened at lower rates. Going to get your exams will save your life. It'll save your daughter's life. It'll save your best friend's life. Yes. It'll save your mother's life. Go get screened. Save your life. And don't stop here. You've heard what we've had to say. Share the information. At your next family event, holidays are coming up, sit around the table. Talk about, what is our family history? Who had what? Did Uncle Snoop have the sugar? Did my friend just found out not terribly long ago that her aunt was on her second bout of breast cancer and never knew she had it, but that impacts her. Have these conversations in your family. Share the information about early detection and screening with your friends and family, and save your family's lives. Lives, not lice.
Well, we knew what you meant. We knew. So these conversations, as Nikki said, they're very uncomfortable to talk about. Of course, yes, we understand, but we have to talk about these things. These are things that are very vital, very important, and we need to talk about it. That's why I had them come today, had Nikki come today, because this is so imperative, so important. We have to bring this awareness, not just today, but every day, to each and every person that you know. Even women that are not in your life. If you happen to be in a conversation with someone at the grocery store, bring it up. Hey, did you get your pap smear? I know this is weird, but did you get your pap smear, or did you do your breast exam this year? Because it's very important to do so. So I'm sorry again for my voice, but this is a very big deal. It's not just a sometime thing. It's not just a every October thing. This is a everyday thing. So that's why we're stressing it to you today, and I'm praying that it resonates with you. It helps you with all the great information that Nikki has shared. And also she's going to tell you about her organization and what they can do for you with the situation as well.
So the Witness Project of Long Island, as we say, we go into churches, community centers, sororities, wherever people will have us. I've gone into stores, I've gone into homes, and we share the good news that early detection saves lives. We can help women find low or no cost mammograms. We can help you find the information you need to help save your life. You can call us at 631-417-0586. You can email us at witnessprojectli@gmail.com. And you can visit us on Facebook at the Witness Project of Long Island. You can visit us on our website at witnessprojectli.org. We are part of a national program. There are witness projects across the country. And again, our motto is, in church, they witness to save souls. At the Witness Project, we witness to save lives.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I want to thank you so much for coming out here today, Nikki, to make this difference, to make this inspiration across Facebook, across each and every place that you go to. I just ask you to continue to walk in God's light and love and share this with so many others, because if we were to say a little longer, we could tell about all the people that you've helped and that you continue to help. And I just want to say thank you again for coming today, taking the time out. It's very greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me. Mm-hmm. If one person goes and gets their mammogram and it saves their life, it is worth everything.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you again. And thank you, everybody who was watching out there and who is going to watch this. And please take heed to this, because it's very important. It's not something, again, that you do just for today and you hear it today and then it's like, okay, you forget about it tomorrow. Keep it within your heart and your spirit to help yourself, but also to help all that you love and care about. Okay, because this information is very important. Okay, and with that said, we just want to say thank you again. And Nikki, hope to see you soon. This is a good friend of mine, by the way, that I happened to recently reconnect with. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad to see you. So again, thank you for being here, Nikki.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And all of you out there, thank you so much, and stay great. And please have your mammograms and get your pap smears, okay? Have a good evening.